a potential new formula to determine Social Security check amounts. I have all the details for you here in the video. Let's get right into it. All right, now this may be a really good thing for a lot of beneficiaries, as there's this discussion to change the formula that is used to determine how much checks will be for Social Security beneficiaries. Now let me share with you really quickly the formula that is in place right now that they've been using for many decades to determine how much beneficiaries will be receiving on a monthly basis. And then again, the new formula compared to that, they will sound very much the same, like, isn't that the same formula right now? It's actually a little bit different, and this one would potentially be a lot better because as of right now with the current formula that's being used, if somebody doesn't have income for a certain set of years, then that is used against them and reduces their overall benefit. However, with the new formula, they would remove that, and this could potentially boost benefit checks pretty substantially for some people who maybe have lapse years in their overall work record. Sounds a little bit confusing, but let me share with you the details of this, okay? And by the way, like I said, this could potentially be pretty good for a lot of people, and this would actually be resulting in potentially higher benefits for those beneficiaries. And again, I'll elaborate more on that here in just a second. Okay, let's talk about really quickly here the formula that is used, okay? So right now, Social Security uses your 35 highest years of income to determine what your benefit will be. Now, they use a formula that's called AIME, Average Indexed Monthly Earnings. So basically what they do is they take your 35 highest years of income, they add up all your income and basically inflate it to current levels of inflation. So they kind of like inflate it to make sure that it's all equal, like comparing apples to apples, and then they average it out on a monthly basis and they run this formula, okay? However, let's just say over the last 35 years that somebody has, I don't know, 5 years of zero income for whatever reason. Maybe they were in school, maybe they were a stay-at-home parent, maybe they had an illness. It literally doesn't matter. I don't know. For whatever reason, somebody over the last 35 years does not have income, zero income that is being reported for maybe 5 of those years. Well, now what would happen is that taking the 35 highest years, even zeros count, because in this situation, if there's not income for 35 of all 35 years, then you would replace those years that have zero income with a zero. Well, here's the thing about averages. You probably know this, but averages are really brought down significantly by any zeros that are brought into the mix. You don't want to have a zero. If you can avoid a zero, you probably don't want that because it just brings the average down so substantially. And at the end of the day, this also impacts your monthly benefit amount or your PIA, primary insurance amount, okay? So even like a few $1,000s of income would certainly be way better than a zero on somebody's work record. But unfortunately, how many of us really have 35 years of income? I mean, there's some people for sure that do, but for the most part, there's a lot of people out there, when Social Security goes to calculate their benefit and they look at their 35 highest years of income, there's usually some zeros in the mix. That's just how it goes. There's not a lot of people out there that actually have numbers and dollar amounts of earnings for all 35 years, right? But anyway, okay, so that's the formula that they use now, is taking all of that, okay, 35 years, including zeros, and again, bringing that average down, which ultimately translates into lower benefits for the people. Okay, but here's this discussion of the new formula that they'd possibly want to implement. The same 35 highest years of income. Okay, sounds the exact same, right? It does, but here's the exception to the rule. Any years that are zero would then be stripped out and it would not be used for the calculation. And again, you heard me say just a minute ago, anytime that we're using averages and we're running averages, we always want to avoid zeros at all costs because it just lowers the average so much. So this is kind of this discussion of the new formula, which would be using the 35 highest years, unless somebody has zeros, then we'd still use that 35-year time frame, but yet we'd remove all the zeros from the equation and then run the formula from there, okay? So in this situation, let's just say that somebody has 35 years of work, work history where they have 35 years of income. Okay, good. Then we use all of those 35 years and we, use the AIME formula that I mentioned earlier. And then we run the calculation and we determine how much somebody's benefit is going to be based on that. But if they have, we look at the 35 years and they don't have service or they don't have any income for maybe 5 of those years, then we remove those zeros out of the formula and then we apply basically the AIME, again, average indexed monthly earnings. They run the formula on that for the 30 years in this situation that actually have dollar amounts or income based on them by removing the zeros out of the formula. Okay, it sounds, like I said earlier, like basically the exact same thing, but it's actually a little bit different. And in the second situation, this new formula that's being discussed here is actually significantly better because it actually raises overall average benefits. Because here's the thing. Let's take just a simple average here. Now, again, I'm just going to kind of do this on the fly, so it's not going to be perfect here. I'm just going to kind of make up this example as I go. But let's just say that we average out, 5 numbers. 2, 2, 2, 1, 1. Okay, so what is that? 8, right? 2, 2, 2 is 6, plus 1 and 1 is 8. Okay, so we've got 8. We have 5 numbers total, and it all adds up to 8. Okay, that's cool. But now let's say, and then we average it out. We average that out. What is that 8? 8 divided by 5 is, I don't know, whatever that happens to be, 1 point something, right? So anyway, again, I'm just kind of doing this on the fly here as a quick example. But let's just say we take 5 numbers again. Okay, so we have 2, 2, 0, 0, 1. Okay, we have 5 numbers again, but 2 of them are zeros. 2 plus 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. Okay, now we take 5 divided by 5 is 1. Okay, so before we had that situation. Whereas basically, like in the first example that I said, whatever that calculated out to, again, I don't have a calculator at my moment here, and just kind of running the mental math on that. Honestly, I'm not really sure what it is, but my point is, in the example that I gave, the first one, the 2, 2, 2, and 1 and 1 added up to 8, and divided by 5 was 1 point something. What is it, like 1.33 maybe? Or, something about that, 1.5 or something around that range. But the point is, in the second example, as we take out the zeros, so then in this situation, it would have added out, or would have added up to 5, but then we divided it by 5 years, okay? But now let's figure it out again and say 2, 2, 0, 0, 1. We still have 5 numbers, but let's strip out the 2 zeros. So now we have 2, 2, and 1 is 5 divided by 3. Again, we're kind of at that same formula. It's possibly even a little bit better than what it was with the first example. And again, I know that's not a perfect example there. I was literally just making that up on the fly there, just to kind of illustrate kind of what they want to do here. At the end of the day, this would probably translate into higher benefits, maybe not significantly higher, but if somebody has a significant amount of zeros on their work record, it'd potentially be very good. Now, if somebody only has, say, I don't know, 1 or 2 or 3 or maybe even 5 0 years of income on their work record where they were to run this formula, it probably wouldn't be all that impactful. It certainly would be a little bit, but not massively impactful. But if somebody had, say, like 7 or 9 or 10 years or something like that of overall zeros across the board on their work record, that would substantially upset the benefits and substantially reduce the benefit with all those zeros. But with the new formula, it potentially changes that dramatically as well, and then all those zeros aren't taken into consideration. Now, the other part of this discussion as well is, where do we draw the line? If somebody has, say, 11 years of service or 11 years of income, and they go to draw their benefit, that means that they have 24 years of zeros. Well, okay, that maybe not be all that fair, because people that have spent 35 years working or 30 years working and have all that income there, you know what I'm saying there? So it's kind of like, well, where do you kind of draw the line? That's kind of what's being discussed, is it may not be the most fair thing. So maybe they draw the line at, okay, we'll use 35 years of income, but we're only allowed to strip out or back out, say, 5 years of zero income to run the formula. Or maybe it's 7 years, or maybe it's, whatever. Maybe they can back out, 10 years of zero income, but that's it. So that's the part of this discussion as well that is still a little bit up in the air right now. Either way, at the end of the day, this should translate into, if they were to do such a thing here as well, should translate into a little bit higher benefit for people if they were to do this. But again, the big question is if. Now, here's what's interesting about Social Security right now. There are so many different proposals. There's a bunch of talk. There's plans. There's concepts. There's legislation. There's bills. There's discussions. There's all kinds of things that they are talking about to change the program, reform it, to raise benefits, to raise taxes, to push out the full retirement age, to increase solvency, all of these things. Why? Well, we know that in about 7 to 10 years, give or take, somewhere within that range, based on some new laws that have been passed, like the Social Security Fairness Act and some other changes that have come into Social Security, we know that this program will be insolvent in roughly 7.5-ish to maybe 10 years if we're lucky, depending on what they do, depending on the laws as well. The 10 years is in a very hopeful situation if they were to combine the Old Age and Survivors Trust Fund as well as the Disability Trust Fund, which they are two separate trust funds right now. They would have to change the law in order to combine them. But if they were to do all that and combine them, that'd be the best case scenario. And we maybe have 9.5, maybe 10 years of runway here until they're out of money. But if they don't do anything like that and they keep the trust funds separate, then we're looking at insolvency in maybe 7.5-ish. 8 years or so, give or take a little bit. Again, depends on what happens here. Now that they changed and they passed the Social Security Fairness Act, that is going to increase or move solvency closer to present time by about 6 months. If more big changes come in, then we could be moving insolvency even closer to present time, meaning they need to act more quickly now and do something for the program before we hit insolvency. And in other words, the trust fund is completely out of money. So anyway, I just want to keep you posted on what I'm finding out there. I hope this helps you to some degree. Again, I'm here for you in any way that I possibly can be. Again, if I can ask a huge favor of you, number one, please subscribe to the channel. It is 100% free to do so. There's a big subscribe button down below. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Again, thanks so much for being part of the community. Make sure to subscribe. Again, only if you haven't done so. Next, if you're new here or if you would like to, feel free to share the video. There's a share button right down below. If with your friends on my social media, if you can think of 1 or 2 people that benefit from this video here or any of the other thousands of videos here on the channel, again, feel free to share this video. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Otherwise, check out the thousands and thousands of videos here on the channel in the video library. The popular videos I've hand selected for you down below in the description or the top of the comment section, and right now showing up on your screen as well. You'll see some videos there. Check those out. Otherwise, just have a nice day. Thanks so much for being here. I truly appreciate it. Thank you so much for trusting me. Thank you so much for your support. Thank you for watching. Thank you for allowing me to represent and advocate for you. And thanks for being part of the community. Have a good one. Take care, and I hope to see you again soon.